Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
That, as they say, is that. Marvel Comics, let's go ahead and get started. Howdy all you mentees, Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Today we're going to round up the most wanted... What am I doing here? Today I'm going to be talking about the top 20 most wanted, my top 20 most wanted Marvel Omnis for the year of 2024. I do this every year, so let's see what I've got on the list this year. And welcome back, everybody. Before I go any further, a big thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. Could not be doing this without you all, and the link to our Patreon is in the description of the video. Now, I do this every year, and every year I also map these books out. I pick a cover, and this is how I've been doing it for the last 6 years. If you want to go back and watch the list, you want to go back and watch which ones have actually come out, woo, that list, it's crazy how many of these Omnis have come out. Not because of me, but just because how long Omnis have been coming out and just how much more there is to collect. And there's always more to collect. I never go back and view my old list. I know some of these have appeared in the old list. Some of these have appeared since the very beginning of my list that I started doing on the channel. But I would love to know what your top 20 are. I know because you all voted for it. And we did the top 60. We showed you all the top 60 and I sent those all to Marvel. And one thing, I do this every year and I always remind people, but I still get the comment, where's the X-Men titles? That video will be coming out next week. Next week will be my top 10 most wanted X-Men Omnis for the year of 2024. So hopefully, next year when I'm doing this, some of these will be off the list, just like I know Daredevil Innocenti's off the list now. James DeMatteis's Spectacular Spider-Man is off my list now. So yeah, it's exciting to be doing this again every year. It is a countdown. We're going to go from number 20 all the way to number 1. So let's go ahead and get started. But before I do, smash that like button, please. I love making these videos, and I know that I get a lot of comments on these videos to keep coming back every year, but the like button, for some reason, is something YouTube also looks at when it comes to the algorithm. So thank you all so much. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Number 20, Captain America and Black Widow by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. And I also put the mapping of the books, by the way, down here at the bottom somewhere. Not just the cover, but the mapping. I feel like there is a missing gap in some of this Captain America era, mainly in between the Nick Spencer era and the Ta-Nehisi Coates. And whenever we get the reprint of Captain America by Mark Waid Omnibus, this stuff will not fit in there, and this comes way afterwards. So I figured, why not make a Captain America and Black Widow by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee, put them all together, and just give you that type of omnibus. So I thought, yeah, I mean, you've got this amazing range of Chris Samnee's artwork in both books, and you've got Captain America by Mark Waid too, and Black Widow, which to a lot of people is the best Black Widow story. Although Kelly Thompson's run, though, that gives it a run for its money. So this is the stuff that, again, happens after Nick Spencer, before Ta-Nehisi Coates takes over the book, and then Black Widow, of course, is one of those, I guess it's not really a miniseries, it's a maxi series, but this does happen in 2016, before the run by Kelly Thompson. Number 19, Daredevil by D.G. Chichester. And yes, that is how the man says his own name, and that's how I'm saying it. While it's one of these runs that I know not everybody loves, because they probably identify as this run as it's the Fall from Grace period, it's that black suit, it was awesome. There's a lot of good in here that people forget about. Like, the actual follow-up to Born Again happens in those issues 297, 298, 299, 300, The Fall of the Kingpin. All of that is the actual follow-up to the story of Born Again. Like, we didn't see the outcome of what happened in that. It kind of, well, I don't want to give away what happens at the end of Born Again. You do get closure here. And on top of that, I actually love Fall from Grace. I think Fall from Grace is awesome. It's the edginess of the 90s, and if you like that era, and Scott McDaniel's artwork, so good in here. Plus, put in the Elektra Root of Evil with Scott McDaniel's art. And I even added the Retro series. Marvel hasn't really done that with the exception of the X Factor Legends, so they're not opposed to it. Who knows, maybe we'll get like a retro series omnibus one day, but I did add it here, the Daredevil Black Armor. All right, number 18, Doctor Strange, again, by Donny Cates and Mark Waid. I know, another creator-centric, but I feel like you need it because we needed something after Jason Aaron's run. We need it after Jason Aaron's run, and in between that and Jed MacKay's, who would make a nice omnibus. No announcement yet, but Jed MacKay's run would make a nice size omnibus. And I know that this isn't just Donny Cates, but it's also has the stories in here by Dennis Hopeless that take place during the Secret Empire storyline. So, you know, I would love for all of this to be added in here. Mark Waid's run has been collected in a series of 2 thick trades, as well as Donny Cates, but I would love for this to be collected in one omnibus. Man, there's a lot of these creator-centric books. My bad. All right, next one up. Also creator-centric book. Hulk by Aaron, Waid, and Duggan omnibus. I feel like this is another one that's needed. We have seen this before with the Byrne and Casey omnibus when it comes to the Hulk. We had this era where we had a writer on Hulk for a little while, and then they left for after a couple of years. Then somebody else came in, and he lasted a couple of years, and then somebody else came in a couple of years. So I feel like this era right here would be perfect. This is right before the Immortal Hulk era, and it's after the Greg Pak era. Another one of my most wanted. Not sure if it made it into the list this year, but with the release of Joe Casey and John Byrne's Hulk omnibus, I think this could easily be done. All of this has been collected in complete collections and in thin trade paperbacks, but we need them in a big oversized hardcover. Although, maybe I think the first Jason Aaron book was released in an oversized hardcover because it got the Mark Silvestri art in it. All right, number 16, Fantastic Four Heroes Return Omnibus 1 and 2. One that has shown up on my list before, I know, because I've mapped it out before, and I mapped out both of them, so why not? We have the Heroes Return era, which takes place after the Heroes Reborn era, when Image creators were working on this particular title, like Avengers, and of course the Fantastic Four, and Captain America, and Iron Man for a year. 12 issues. There's a 13th issue. It hasn't been collected because that had Wildstorm characters. Anyway, it becomes a legal thing. But with this, I wanted to collect the era where they came back. We've had an Iron Man Heroes Return Omnibus, a Thor Heroes Return Omnibus, and we've had a Captain America's Heroes Return Omnibus, because it's part of the Captain America by Mark Waid. I would love, absolutely love, a collection of the Fantastic Four. Available in complete collection, but in omnibus format. We need. Avengers by Geoff Johns and Chuck Austen. Man, that one extreme to the next. But this is such a huge gap filler, because we have the Kurt Busiek run of Avengers, and with Kurt Busiek and George Perez's run, with those 2 omnis, the next one up is the New Avengers. But in between that era, we had Geoff Johns, who came on for a little while, and Chuck Austen, who came on right before the beginning of Bendis' era. So this also collects the New Avengers, and then the Vision little miniseries, and then of course the crossover with Thor and Iron Man. But yeah, another one that's creator-centric. Just like the next book, Guardians of the Galaxy by Donny Cates and Al Ewing. Guardians of the Galaxy by Donny Cates has been collected in the deluxe hardcover. It's not part of the Donny Cates Cosmic Universe Omnibus. So I feel like it would fit perfectly with the Al Ewing era. We've had Guardians of the Galaxy do such a great job collecting, you know, everything from the DNA era. We have the DNA era, we've got the Bendis era with Volume 2, hopefully sometime next year. We've had the era of Jerry Duggan, including the Infinity Wars crossover. That's also collected in, not in an omnibus, but it's an oversized hardcover. The next era we would need would be the Donny Cates and Al Ewing era. And I feel like that's enough for an omnibus. Number 13. Oh, man, Alpha Flight. I went ahead and called it Alpha Flight by Bill Mantlo instead of Volume 2. Because they didn't, when they reprinted Alpha Flight, they didn't call it a Volume 1. I really wish they would have, because then it would have given me hope for a Volume 2 to be the Bill Mantlo era, and then Volume 3 and 4 to wrap up the series. But it can be done in one. It's really not that many issues in here. I mean, about the same as the first volume, but it can definitely be all done in one, with Mike Mignola on artwork on some of those issues, and of course Jim Lee's first Marvel comic, if I'm not mistaken. The Invincible Iron Man by Matt Fraction Omnibus. So going over the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 3, it really opened up my eyes that we need more of old Shellhead collected in omnibus format. And this era is one that people have been craving for. And it's got artwork by Salvador La Roca, when Salvador La Roca was kind of changing his style up to what he is now. But some solid stuff in here. And all of it collected in one place. There have been 2 hardcovers. I think the hardcovers were called Omnis, even though they're not really Omnis. They were just oversized hardcovers. But can be completely collected in one book, including the free comic book day Iron Man Thor story. Number 11, Marvel Team-Up Omnibus Volume 1. I'm not sure why we don't have this yet. We have Spectacular Spider-Man. We got an upcoming Web of Spider-Man. As a matter of fact, the cancellation of this led into the Web of Spider-Man ongoing series. And we've got the Amazing Spider-Man. So this would be the 4th Spider-Man title that we need. It was really the 2nd Spider-Man title, if I'm not mistaken. And for some reason, it just hasn't been collected. It's been collected in Masterworks. It has not been collected in Epic Collections either. Maybe they know what we want, and they're waiting. Now, if you live in Europe, and you're wanting any of these books whenever they come out, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
Coming in at number 10, Agents of Atlas by Geoff Parker. I love this series. It's been collected in complete collections. Not a lot of people talk about this series and how good it was, but the characters in here and the missions they would go on. And you'll probably, in the contents, you'll see a revamp of the series. Oh, it's starting over. Oh, it's starting over with versus the X-Men, versus the Avengers. That's because the people that were following this series knew there was something special there. And we would follow the series no matter if it crossed over with the X-Men, with the Avengers, no matter if they went over to the Thunderbolts. We were so craving this particular cast of characters. So I would love for all of this to be collected in one omnibus. I thought about adding like the first appearance of some of the characters from the Golden Age. I don't know. Maybe that would be cool. We could talk about that whenever this is officially announced one day. Who knows? Again, these are not official announcements. Just my personal wish list. Thunderbolts 4. I think I had this last year. I call it Volume 4. This would be the Dark Reign era. This is the era with the beginning. Well, it starts off with Warren Ellis, then Andy Diggle. And then you do get some Christos Gage in there. And right before Geoff Parker takes over the run. So the next book would be The Uncaged. So this could be a Volume 4. They could call it a Dark Reign Thunderbolt. It is the era of Thunderbolt with Norman Osborn. And then when Norman took his team and they became the Dark Avengers, we got a brand new team with Andy Diggle and the new Black Widow, Yelena. So lots of new characters. Some characters do stick around. Number 8. We have a lot of this character collected. But one that we really need again is Moon Knight by Bendis, Ellis, Wood, Bunn, Lemire, and Bemis. Whew. Lots of people, but lots and lots of Moon Knight that is collected in this particular run. And this would lead up directly into, so between the Charlie Houston run and the Jed MacKay run. And Jed MacKay is getting an omnibus, a Volume 1 at that. So now we need this gap filler. Oh, and these gap fillers are so... Maybe that's why this list is full of creator-centric books. Because the gap fillers just feel so good to put in your shelf. Slide right in there. It's like, I get the same feeling from that than I did when I was collecting back issues, whenever I was collecting X-Men. Like, it's so weird to talk about single issues to people that grew up with digital comics or comics that have been collected in collected editions. But believe me, before this, it was near impossible to try to find single issues if you lived in a small town. You had to go through mail order catalogs. If you were lucky enough, a convention would come around that was about an hour from you. But anyway, long story short, that feeling of getting that issue of Uncanny X-Men that I was missing from the Dark Phoenix saga is the same feeling I get whenever I get to announce one of these books, and then when I physically slide it into the shelf where it always belonged. Like that, there has to be a word for that. There has to be. Anyway, number 7, another one, Hulk by Bruce Jones. Hulk by Bruce Jones has been on the list before. It's one of my most wanted. It can be done in one. They did an oversized hardcover collection of a couple of these, but it is this weird, dark era of the Hulk before Immortal Hulk that went in a little bit into the horror elements of it, but the Hulk and Bruce Banner kind of doing their own thing outside of the Marvel universe. That's why I think this era is so interesting and so unique. And I get it, it's not everybody's favorite. It doesn't have to be. I mean, my list is different than yours, so I would love to know what your top 10, top 20 would be. But this is another gap filler. This is one that has, let's see, we have the John Byrne and Joe Casey stuff. We have the Hulk Dogs of War by Paul Jenkins. And then the next book, it's the Peter David, well, Tempest Fugit is collected in the Peter David Omnibus. House of M is collected in that too. And then we get Planet Hulk. And this would fit perfectly in between those books. Right after the Hulk Dogs of War and either Planet Hulk or Peter David's. Yeah, it's hard to split up that Peter David run when he came back in that Omnibus volume, what is that, volume 5? Number 6. Moving on up, or maybe down. I can't remember. Darkhawk, baby. Come on now. We got New Warriors. We got New Warriors starring, or, yeah, Night Thrasher and Nova. We've got all these 90s comics coming out. David Michelinie and Bagley Spider-Man. People are craving this era. And this character right here, no epic collections of this guy either. He's shown up in Omnis. He's shown up in Epics. He's shown up in modern Marvel comics. And he just celebrated an anniversary last year, right? 2023? Now's the time for Darkhawk, baby. All 50 issues. Yes. Number 5. A series not a lot of people talk about this era. Iron Man, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is post-Civil War. And I think a lot of people don't talk about it because they remember the way Tony was during Secret Wars. And to me, this era is completely underrated. It's when he takes over S.H.I.E.L.D., hence the title. And then he has to have a redeeming arc. Like something has to, like we have to have a redemption arc for this character that kind of went and turned on his friends. So they need to get his trust back. Or how do you earn the trust of your friends? He needs to get their trust back. Yeah, it's such a good book. Oh, this one's awesome. And just to see him interact with these S.H.I.E.L.D. team members, it's so different than him interacting with Cap or the Avengers or even like in recent runs of the X-Men, but absolutely coming in at number 5. Number 4, Punisher Jigsaw Puzzle. We've had reprints of Max Volumes 1 and 2 by Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon. We're getting a reprint of the Greg Rucka Omnibus Volume 1, or it's complete. And now we need some new Punisher stuff. I love Greg Rucka. Greg Rucka almost made this list again. I know he's been on my list before. But I want something classic. I want something to give. This would be Volume 2. So if you got Punisher Back to the War, this would be Punisher Volume 2. This is the classic stuff that I love with artwork by, you got Whilce Portacio in here, Tex is in here, Carl Potts. Oh, this stuff is so good. I say that about a lot of these books, but it's just, I'm really passionate about these stories that I've enjoyed over the years. Wow, this is a surprise. Oh, I worked on this list for a while, but coming in at number 3, I'll move things around. Agent Van Omnibus. I guess I'm really craving. Oh, because I read the Space Knight, which would be in a volume 2. So I'm playing it safe and keeping it as a 2 volumes. This one's separate. So it does start off by stories with Rick Remender and Tony Moore, and then it moves on to the Cullen Bunn era of Agent Van Omnibus. And if you don't know who Agent Van Omnibus is, if you got Brand New Day Omnibus Volume 1, you'll find out the identity of who this is. It isn't Eddie Brock, I will say that. And I'm really surprised it moved up to number 3, baby. I think I had it at another one. Like another slot, and for some reason, here we go. Coming in at number 3. That's what happens when I move things around. Number 2. Thor by DeFalco and Friends. probably top 3 favorite Thor runs of all time. When people ask me what my favorite Thor run is, I think, Walter Simonson's run is probably my favorite. But Thor by DeFalco, Tom DeFalco doesn't get enough praise for all the work he did on Thor. And Ron Frenz, too. Ron Frenz coming back. And I went ahead and added a Thunderstrike oversized hardcover. I mean, we've got Omnis that have 10 issues. Scratch that. Thunderstrike Omnibus then. Collects all 24 issues. If you're interested in the character of Eric. I really like that character, though. And I really like where that story ended up. I didn't expect to have those emotions. But one of the most underrated runs. If you're wondering where this fits in, it is pre-Onslaught. It actually ends with Onslaught, and then you get Heroes Reborn. And then after that, the Dan Jurgens Omni, Volume 1 and 2. And then after that, it's the JMS and Kieran Gillen. And after that, Manufactured. Yeah, we've got a lot of modern stuff. And we're getting a Donny Cates and Nick Klein Omnibus. So this is one that is before Heroes Reborn and Heroes Return. And after Walter Simonson, which would be cool to get an omnibus of that. Maybe they'll put that on there next year. We'll see. And coming in at number 1. I know it's been on the list before, but now it's my most wanted. Avengers by Roger Stern. Volumes 1 and 2. Will this one day be obsolete because we'll have an Avengers Omnibus Volume 10, 11, 12? Absolutely. But we're still at Volume 5. We're talking about now. I want it now. I don't want it 10 years from now, whenever we end up getting those issues. We're at Volume 5. No announcement of a Volume 6. Knock on wood. Maybe next year. So I don't want to wait to read one of my favorite Avengers run. My favorite is, of course, Kurt Busiek's run. But Uncle Roger's run on Avengers is so solid. He was doing shakeups. He was shaking up the team. There were a lot of things that I enjoyed about this run was because it kind of reminded me of what Chris Claremont was doing on X-Men. Yeah. And if you haven't read it, it is available in Epic Collection, most of it, if not all of it by now. But I wanted an omnibus format with the letter pages. The letter pages are key to me. And Big John Buscema on the art, of course I want this. Now, when and if these books ever come out, and I get to announce them, don't forget to pre-order them from our sponsor. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was my list of the my top 20 most wanted Marvel Omnis. I've done your list, and now you've looked at mine. Again, X-Men will be next week. I'll do a top 10 list of my most wanted X-Men Omnis, and then I'll do top 20 DC, top 10 Batmans. And let me know what list you want to see. But that is the list. I love doing these every year. I love mapping these. And if I miss something on the mapping, by all means, please suggest it. Please suggest adding something on my mapping. So, that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to know what your list is, by all means. And if you want to map your books, by all means, map them down below. And who knows, maybe the next round of announcements will have one of the books in mine or yours. Everyone stay healthy and safe. Much love.